A radio dial turns slowly through empty static. There is only the endless hiss of the Pacific Ocean. A twin-engine aircraft carrying 2 people has vanished. It has disappeared without a trace. The largest search in maritime history has found absolutely nothing. No floating wreckage was ever spotted on the dark water. No oil slick marked their descent. The world assumes they ran out of fuel and sank. Yet, on a remote, uninhabited atoll, a silent clue lies hidden in the undergrowth. A weathered wooden box rests in the shadows. This box contains a secret. It could rewrite the end of our most famous aviation mystery. It connects to a tragic survival story. The clues do not point to a sudden crash. They tell a story of isolation and desperate hope. It is a story written on the hot, desolate sand. The ocean is vast and covers a massive portion of the globe. For decades, researchers have stared at maps of this empty expanse. They seek one specific point. The coordinates remain a blank space. On July 2, 1937, the silver Lockheed Electra disappeared. The pilot was a global icon. The navigator was a seasoned mariner. They were flying toward a tiny speck of land. They never arrived. Since that day, the mystery has grown. It has captured the human imagination. Many believe the sea took them instantly. They believe the plane lies in the deep. But some clues tell a different story. They speak of a lonely island. They whisper of a long, quiet struggle. The answers are buried on a remote reef. On July 2, 1937, the morning sun is hot in Lae, New Guinea. The airfield is busy with final preparations. Amelia Earhart is already a legend. She is the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. Now, she wants to conquer the globe. Her navigator, Fred Noonan, is an expert in marine and aerial navigation. He has spent years mapping flight paths across the Pacific. Together, they believe they can achieve the impossible. Their silver Lockheed Electra is custom-built for this long-range journey. It is a twin-engine Model 10E. It bears the registration number NR16020. The aircraft is powered by 2 Pratt & Whitney Wasp S3H1 engines. Each engine produces 600 horsepower. Airfield logs show they load approximately 1,100 gallons of fuel. This fuel is calculated to provide roughly 20 to 21 hours of flying time. It is a massive amount of weight. The plane is heavy. The runway is short. But the takeoff is successful at 10 o'clock a.m. local time. This matches midnight Greenwich Mean Time. Back in the United States, Amelia's husband, George Palmer Putnam, waits for news. He is the chief promoter of this world flight. His career is tied to this venture. He expects a routine radio call. The flight is anything but routine. It will become a mystery that spans generations. George will spend years compiling inventories. He will search archives. He will plead with officials. He will never see her again. They wave to the ground crew. The engines roar to life. The metal vibrates. They lift off. The navigator's tools are his only map. Fred Noonan relies on a master compass and a drift indicator. He has 2 altimeters and a Sperry directional gyro. He also carries his trusted marine sextant. Crucially, a modern, highly sensitive Sperry autopilot system was partially disabled or removed prior to the world flight. They did this to save weight. Every pound matters. On the tarmac at Lae, the crew makes another critical decision. They decide to leave a 250-foot trailing wire antenna behind. This antenna was specifically designed for transmitting and receiving lower frequency signals. These include 500 kHz, the International Marine Distress Frequency. Without this wire, their long-range communication options are severely limited. The Electra is equipped with a 50-watt Western Electric Model 13C transmitter. It can operate on 3 key frequencies, 500, 3105, and 6210 kHz. The receiver is a Western Electric Model 20B, but without the long wire, they are operating at a severe disadvantage. They are flying blind. They cannot easily reach the ships below. This decision will haunt the searchers. It will hamper every effort to locate them. The airwaves are thin. The distance is too great. Their voices will struggle to pierce the atmosphere. They have cut their own lifeline. Radio communication in 1937 is primitive. It relies on perfect conditions. The crew knows the risks. Yet, they choose to streamline the aircraft. They want more speed. They want more fuel efficiency. They trade safety for weight. It is a calculated gamble. The consequences will be historic. Their destination is a tiny speck in the ocean. Howland Island is an incredibly small, flat, sandy strip of land. It measures only 2,000 yards long by 800 yards wide. Its highest point rises only 15 to 20 feet above sea level. This makes it exceptionally difficult to spot from the air. In the vastness of the Pacific, it is practically invisible. To help them, the United States Coast Guard cutter Itasca is anchored off the island. The ship acts as a radio communication link. It is designed to emit a radio homing beacon. This beacon should guide the Electra to the tiny runway. The crew of the Itasca keeps watch. They scan the horizon for the silver plane. They monitor the radio room constantly. The hours stretch on. The night is long and tense. The radio operators listen to the static. They hope for a clear voice. They know the plane's fuel is burning away. Every minute represents lost gasoline. The margin for error is shrinking. The ocean is unforgiving. Howland Island was a colonial project. A few young men lived there. They kept weather logs. They prepared the crude runway. They waited for the historic landing. The island has no trees. It has no fresh water. It is a desolate sanctuary. For Amelia, it is the only hope. If they miss this speck of sand, there is nowhere else to go. The nearest mainland is thousands of miles away. There is no turning back. They are alone. At 8:43 a.m. local ship time on July 2, 1937, the Itasca records a voice. It is Amelia's final clear transmission. The radio log is handwritten by radioman 3rd Class William Galton. It is verified by Chief Radioman Leo G. Bellarts. The message is brief. Amelia speaks on 3,105 kilohertz. She says they are on the line 157, 337. She says they will repeat the message on 6,210 kilocycles. She ends with a single word: wait. No coordinates are given. No position is confirmed. The voice is loud. It is recorded at maximum signal strength. This indicates the plane is extremely close to Howland Island. It is perhaps just over the horizon, but there is a fatal problem. The plane's radio cannot send a long signal. The Itasca's high-frequency direction finder needs a long transmission to lock on to her position. It cannot calculate her direction. The operators are helpless. They can hear her, but they cannot see her. They do not know where to look. The signal cuts out. It does not return. The radio room is silent. The operators call back. They broadcast on all frequencies. They listen for any reply. Only static fills the speakers. The ship's crew looks out at the blue sky. The weather is clear. The sun is bright. Yet the plane is nowhere to be seen. The fuel clock is ticking down. The mathematical limit has arrived. The plane is gone. The silence is broken by whispers. Between July 2nd and July 5th, 1937, radio stations across the Pacific report hearing voices. Even amateur operators in North America claim to hear distress calls. They're on the frequencies of 3,105 and 6,210 kilohertz. In total, 120 transmissions are reported. The United States Navy takes these reports seriously. They officially map and investigate 57 of them. They believe these signals are potentially genuine. There is a scientific reason for this. For these signals to be sent, the plane's radio had to function. The radio required power. The power came from the plane's batteries. But the batteries would quickly drain unless the engines were running. The engines could not run if the plane was submerged in water. The water would ruin the electrical system. Therefore, the engines had to be dry. The plane had to be on land. This evidence suggests the Electra did not sink immediately. It was resting on a reef or an island. Someone was alive. Someone was sending distress calls. They were calling for help. The Navy plotted the signals. They pointed to the south. They pointed toward the Phoenix Islands. But the search focused elsewhere. Some contemporary accounts claimed the voices sounded desperate. However, we cannot verify these details. What we know is this. The timing of the calls matched the low tides on the islands. This is when the engines could safely be run. It was a race against the tide. The batteries eventually died. The voices faded forever. The official search begins on July 3, 1937. It is a massive effort. The United States Navy and Coast Guard deploy 9 naval vessels. These include the aircraft carrier USS Lexington and the battleship USS Colorado. 66 aircraft take to the skies. They cover approximately 150,000 square miles of empty ocean. The cost is staggering. It is estimated at $4 million. In today's currency, that is roughly $85 million. It is the most expensive search of its time. On July 9, 1937, 3 catapult seaplanes fly over Gardner Island. This remote atoll is located 350 miles south-southwest of Howland. The pilots are from the battleship USS Colorado. Senior Aviator Lieutenant John O. Lambrecht writes the official report. He notes signs of recent habitation on the island, but he sees no signs of the silver aircraft. He sees no survivors. He notes that the surrounding coral reef is too rough for a landing. The planes turn back. They fly away. The search continues elsewhere. By July 18, 1937, the search is called off. The ocean is declared empty. The crew is presumed dead. The searchers face terrible conditions. The Pacific is vast and uniform. From the air, every wave looks like wreckage. The glare of the sun is blinding. The pilots fly for hours. They scan the endless blue. They find nothing but empty water. The scale of the failure is immense. It leaves a deep wound in the public consciousness. People refuse to believe the search found nothing. They demand answers. The mystery is born. In 1940, the mystery takes a dramatic turn. British colonial administrator Gerald Gallagher is organizing a settlement on Gardner Island. His workers are clearing the dense forest. Under a tree, they make a shocking discovery. They find a partial human skeleton. It consists of 13 bones. These include a skull, a lower jaw, a humerus, a radius, a tibia, a fibula, and a femur. Alongside the bones, searchers find items that suggest a female presence. They find a sole of a shoe. It is identified as a woman's size 9. They find a metal zipper slider. They find a bottle of Benedictine liqueur. Gallagher writes a confidential telegram. He suspects these are the remains of Amelia Earhart. Near the bones, they also find a wooden box. The box was designed to hold a marine sextant. Stamped on the wood are the numbers 3500 and the brand name Brandis. This style of sextant was used by early 20th century navigators. Fred Noonan used such an instrument. Some researchers believe this box potentially connects to the missing navigator. It suggests a link to their flight. However, records show the box could not be conclusively linked to Noonan. It remains a fascinating clue. Theorists believe any castaways on the island would have had to rely on rain for water. They would have had to search for local food sources. The island was remote and dry. It had no natural source of fresh water. They waited for a rescue that never came. The heat was intense. The conditions were brutal. No one came. The bones could have solved the mystery, but a bureaucratic error occurs. The remains are sent to Fiji. In April 1941, Dr. David W. Hoodless measures the bones. He is a British physician and anatomy lecturer. He works at the Central Medical School in Suva. He concludes the bones belong to a short, stocky male. He estimates the height at 5 feet 5.5 inches. He believes the man was of European or mixed race. Following this evaluation, the bones are misplaced. They are lost in Fiji. They have never been relocated. The physical evidence is gone. Decades pass. The case seems closed. But the original measurements survive in the files. In 1998, and again in 2018, forensic anthropologists run the data through modern databases. Dr. Richard Jantz leads the study. He uses a program called Fordisk. He concludes the original evaluation was wrong. The measurements of the humerus, radius, and tibia are consistent with a tall female of Northern European descent. They match Amelia's documented height of 5 feet 7 to 5 feet 8 inches. To many, this suggested the lost pilot had finally been identified. But the bones are gone. We cannot perform modern DNA testing. The final proof is lost. Science has advanced since 1941. Today, we can extract DNA from tiny fragments. We can determine ancestry with high precision. But we are limited by the mistakes of the past. Dr. Hoodless did not have modern forensic tools. He made a subjective judgment. His error delayed the truth. The lost bones remain a phantom clue. They represent a tragic missed opportunity. The official theory remains unchanged. The United States government maintains that the aircraft ran out of fuel. They believe it ditched in the Pacific Ocean. They believe it sank near Howland Island. This is the consensus of the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. But oceanographers have searched the seabed. In 2019, Robert Ballard scanned the deep waters. He used advanced sonar and remote vehicles. He found nothing. Other theories exist. Some believe they crashed in the jungles of New Britain. This is based on a sighting of a wreck in 1943. An Australian patrol reported finding an engine plate, but local searches have failed to locate any wreckage. Others allege they were captured by Japanese forces in the Marshall Islands. They suggest the crew was taken to Saipan. However, the United States Office of Naval Intelligence investigated this claim. They dismissed it. The Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs also found no supporting records. The evidence on Gardner Island remains the most compelling physical link. Both Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were legally declared dead. Amelia was declared dead in absentia on January 5, 1939. Fred was declared dead on June 15, 1938. George Palmer Putnam was forced to accept the loss. He lived with a quiet, lingering grief. The mystery of the Electra's final flight remains unsolved. Yet the physical clues refuse to fade. A shoe sole. A sextant box. 13 lost bones. These pieces fit together to suggest a story of survival, isolation, and a tragic mistake. They show that help was close, yet so far. The radio signals were real. The survivors were waiting. But the world was looking in the wrong place. The story of Amelia Earhart is not just about a disappearance. It is a story of human endurance. It is a testament to the courage of early aviators. They pushed the limits of technology. They faced the unknown with bravery. The silent island of Gardner remains a monument to their final journey. The waves continue to crash against the reef. The wind carries their final echoes. We are left to wonder what really happened in those last hours under the Pacific sun. Do you find the bone measurements or the sextant box harder to explain? Let us know in the comments. Next on Unsolved Echoes, we step into the shadows of another cold trail, where a second path leads to an unexpected destination.